Okay, this one's on terrorism. And I know you guys have all seen the papers lately with the Boston bombing, and more recently, I think, with the shopping mall incident. He didn't kill anybody but himself. The TSA, where he went into the airport at LAX and started shooting people, TSA agents at random. He even had that crazy fan, Harvey Updike, that poisoned the trees. Yeah, but it can grow. 2 years ago, we had a father and son get into an argument over the Alabama Auburn football game, and the father got mad because his team lost, and he grabbed the son in the headlock, and he shot a handgun off next to his son's ear. Didn't shoot him, but still, that's loud. Messed up his eardrum, responded to it. That's not a terrorist, that's domestic violence. But if it's going to progress that bad, then you got a Harvey Updike who's poisoning somebody's tree, painting somebody's rock. When's it going to stop? You got people walking in the daycare shooting people. You know, people are crazy.
Yeah. I was in Walmart a couple of years ago, and there was a bomb threat, the one in Auburn.
You know, and
they wouldn't let us leave.
That's actually a very common thing. Is they do what they call a dry run. They'll have somebody go through with without explosives or whatever, and they'll in Iraq they used to have the females go through, and they would make them done up like they're pregnant, and they create a false cavity. And if they weren't searched the right way to find out they're not pregnant, then they had a way to send them in loaded, and you got a suicide bomber now. And she could make it past the checkpoints to where people are gathered, and then she'd blow herself up. At LAX before, when they were doing those little soda bottle bombs, that's harmless. It was just somebody doing a joke. 2 weeks later, the shooting at LAX. They were checking the response times. Me and my partner have this running joke because every time I see big trash on the side of the road, I go to the middle of the road, and he knows I'm looking for IEDs, and he's laughing at me until this stuff started happening with the LAX terrorism, the one at the shopping mall, all this other stuff. I said, you keep waiting. You got these crazy fans. Something's going to happen in Auburn one day. Plus you got Montgomery. Then you got all this biofuel and all that stuff going on down here in Auburn. You know, you take a truck full of manure and some other chemicals and stuff like that, got you a big bomb. Atlanta's just down the road. Not far from it, y'all get called up to go work that area, and we're first responders, and first responders are easy targets for terrorists. They just don't like setting the bomb and blowing it up and watching the carnage. They like waiting for the first responders to come in, and then they hit us too. You know, and the police are running around trying to control the crowd, trying to get everything died down. They're going to have a bomb right there waiting next to you. That way when you start showing up, picking other people up, they're going to hit you too. So a lot of times, your first reaction is going to jump in there and go help, but you're going to have to use your scene size up. If you see a backpack still in the area, you're going to have to hold up. If you get blown up, that guy ain't going to help, and then who's going to come help you? You're going to be laying on the ground, and they're going to be waiting for the bomb squad. Okay? All right, topics. Defining terrorism. Terrorism in EMS. Time, distance, and shielding. Response to terrorism. Dissemination and weaponization. Characteristics of CBRNE agents. That's chemical, biological, radiation, nuclear, and something you'll say. Strategy and, yeah, I think explosives probably. Strategy and tactics. Self-protection at a terrorist incident. Okay, defining terrorism. That's one way to define it. An outside source comes in, attacks us, right? The unlawful use of force or violence against persons or property to intimidate or coerce a government, the civilian population, or any segment thereof in a furtherance of political or social objectives. Domestic terrorist groups or individuals whose terrorist activities are directed at a government or population without foreign direction. Same thing, they're just homegrown terrorists. Environmental terrorists, survivalists, militias, radical hate groups, hurry up, Dyke. Extreme political or religious groups. What's that crazy group out of Kansas? Worceboro. I'm telling you, it ain't long. They're gonna start going crazy.
They wanted to come do their little thing when my cousin was killed in Iraq in Georgia. They didn't shout. They did not say.
Yeah. International terrorism. Groups or individuals whose terrorist activities foreign based and or directed by countries or groups outside a targeted country or those activities across national borders. So we all know Al Qaeda, right? Hezbollah. And there's so many different. I can't even. Every day they got a break off group because one Hezbollah dude feels like he got gypped, so now he's Hezbollah. The Hezbollah dude gets messed up. Now he's Hezbollah. Man, it's like over in Yugoslavia. They started a new country over there every 10 seconds. A growing trend toward loosely organized international networks of terrorists. For example, okay, see, loosely organized. They break up, they splinter off. Big time. They'll fight each other over territories and then turn on you in a heartbeat. It's crazy. Types of terrorist incidents. Weapons of mass destruction. Here we go. Chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, explosive, and criminal activities. I guess they just threw that extra C in there for chemical. And that can be anything. You can use those little hand heaters. I shouldn't probably say this, but you get those little hand heaters from Walmart, cut them open.
Don't tell these people. Or don't tell dogs.
They might face it. Anyway, they cut them open, you put them in a little bottle, a little soda bottle, and then you take a thing of Tabasco sauce, and you get one of those, a Dixie cup, those little cone Dixie cups, and you push the cone Dixie cup down in there. Then you fill it up with Tabasco sauce, and you seal it off, right? And then you shake it up real good, and the hot sauce eats through that paper bottle, and you throw it, and it starts to swell up, and it blows up. You got CS gas. That's a chemical agent. What's that?
Will that gas kill somebody?
No, it's a CS gas. But everybody in there is going to start crying, going, and not being able to breathe, and it's like getting sprayed in the face with mace.
What's terrible? I got a little brother at home that deserves it.
CS gas, what the police use, control, it's riot gas.
Capsaicin.
Yeah, I don't know the technical term. Biological, there is a lot of leftover stuff from the Cold War out there. I went through NBC school, and luckily I didn't have to do that, but there are guys who do this like for a full-time job in the Army. They go into this room with a goat, and they're in their NBC suit, and they put this little tablet in water, and it's a nerve agent to make sure their suits work right, so they get confidence in their suits. and that goat does some spastic stuff and dies. And then they clear the room and wash them off, and so that could be some nasty stuff. Also, out here, you show up on the scene. There's a website on Facebook, interesting injuries or freaky injuries or something like that. There was one on there. It shows the dash cam of a state trooper going to an accident. You know those 3-tanker transport trucks? And you can see the placard on the truck, and it was hit by a car, and the guy's laying on the ground, and it looks like smoke was coming out of it.
We saw that in
Okay, good, you showed it to him. See, that's the chemical agent. What was that there you go. And all you could hear is him saying, "I can't breathe," and hearing him breathing. So that could be used as a chemical agent or like a biological agent. They use dead animals. There's some nasty stuff out there. Radiological equipment. They can use stuff out of CT machines, X-ray machines, MRI machines, make a dirty nuclear bomb. That also goes down to nuclear. Explosive. Like I said, you can take cow manure and some other stuff and make a really big bomb like, what was old boy's name in Oklahoma? McVeigh. I don't know if you guys know this. He was a soldier out of Fort Riley, Kansas. Was actually selected to go to Special Forces. Actually saw action in desert. One of the few units that really saw action in Desert Storm and Desert Shield. Was awarded the Silver Star. Terrorism and EMS. That's the Pentagon. First responders as targets. First responders are often principal targets of terrorist attacks. Safety of EMS provider is important consideration when responding to potential terrorist incidents. In the Army, mechanics and the medics work hand in hand. They pretty much go in with us. We're supposed to go in, secure the area, then we go in, grab the vehicle, the medics work on the people, we throw them in with us and get both out as fast as possible. Most of us are also trained as what we call a combat lifesaver. That's kind of like an advanced in the civilian world. I can give IVs, do like a King Airway intubation, a bunch of other stuff. And that's how we were hit when I was in Iraq. They blew up a Bradley fighting vehicle. They left a little surprise for us at the scene. We come in, got the guys, got them out. Medic stayed behind with me. The trigger man, I guess, wasn't in position when we first showed up. Otherwise, he had maximum carnage. But when he got in position, he saw us on the ground, hit his detonation device, and got me in the medic. So that's what I'm saying. When you guys go, even if they say the scene's clear, you got to use your scene size up skills because there could be a nasty little surprise waiting for you. These guys like to cause maximum damage and keep it going. Identified threat posed by event. Incident that is a potential act of terrorism is also a crime scene. Recognize ODO signs may help protect against secondary attack. Occupancy or location, type of event, timing of event, and on-scene warning signs. Good. That's like, like the Super Bowl. And y'all see that special about how they were protecting the Super Bowl? Homeland Security was had helicopters in the air with sharpshooters, people working the underground sewers, doing the patrol around. They had cameras all around, everything. The type of event is going to have the most people in the area. timing, anniversary of an attack, anniversary of a historic event, and on-scene warning signs. Like I was telling you, backpacks just laying around. A dead animal carcass that shouldn't be there. You know, a pile of trash that looks a little too neat. Like it might have been covered in the tarp. Who throws out trash and covers it with a tarp?
So what's the deal with the dead animal
They put explosives inside the dead animals.
I'm staying away from the dead animals.
But see, most people when you drive them by, you don't think, oh, it's just a dead animal. You go on scene to an accident, you're not going to think of that dead animal right there. Oh, just someone ran over a dog. And I hate to say it on the interstates, those guardrails, man, those are easy places to plant them. You cause an accident, slap something on the rear side of the guardrail, ain't nobody gonna stop and check the other side. Occupation, location, symbolic historic targets.
But y'all know where they live? Delaware?
Or symbolic historic target.
Point, Howard, San Francisco.
Public buildings and assembly areas, controversial businesses. I don't think we have any around here.
Controversial.
Yeah.
I have like plans out here or anything.
We're wondering if we have something like that.
Women's
Atlanta's
Road.
got- Is it Atlanta where they make the Raptor?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, Lockheed, so we're good there. But they're planning one down here. Lockheed's opening something down here. So see, that makes us a target down here too now.
What is it?
Huh? It's Anderson. They're planning on putting a plant in here for Lockheed down here in Auburn.
Well, they shut down the Raptor project. They shut it down, but they had already purchased a separate plane that are still going off.
Still got to maintain them. Wait till we elect a Republican, then they'll get back up. Goes back and forth. Infrastructure systems. Type of events with high suspicion of terrorist involvement. Explosions and or use of incendiaries. Incidents involving firearms. Non-trauma mass casualty incidents. What do you think a non-trauma mass casualty incident would be? That'd be trauma, wouldn't it?
Start them out that point.
In a building, right? Like everybody just got really sick at one time.
Oh, yeah, like if somebody poisoned you or some kind of, completely.
National holidays, anniversary dates of previous attacks, incident occurring in major public areas at busy points of business days. On-scene warning signs. You guys done? Unexplained patterns of illness or death. This was in the news of late. What's that girl's name? Brittany something. I think her and husband were poisoned by heavy metal. That's it. And I don't mean the music heavy metal. I mean heavy metal poisoning.
She wasn't killed him. At first I thought maybe he killed her, but
He
he died.
died.
He died like 5 months later.
Yeah, 5 months later, almost the same
Who
thing.
killed both of them?
The mom?
That's what they're thinking now, she's in the or she was married again, they gave to her.
This display signs and symptoms of skin, eye, or airway irritation. Especially in the wintertime around here, power going out, if people running their generators. We went to a call, carbon monoxide poisoning. We got there before the fire department did. I didn't know at the time, you could just grab one of your non-rebreather and hook it to a little air tank and go in. But I was like, hey, we got to get this. Guy was passed out in the hallway. We could see him. And we weren't going to wait around for the fire department. We didn't even hear them. So, just kind of put my nose in my shirt, and that didn't work too great. Ran in to grab him, to pull him out, and man, by the time I made it about halfway back, I was already coughing and wanting to puke and everything. That's not a good idea. And you can't see it, but as soon as you walked in, you could smell the exhaust. And this was downstairs in the basement. And he had some kind of homemade tin can looking thing hooked up for an exhaust running out the window, and it fell apart. And that whole house was full of exhaust. And it was bad. As soon as I stepped that doorway, man, my eyes were burning, and it was hard to breathe. There was no oxygen in that house. We flew him out. They had to put him in the bariatric chamber. He had a heart attack in the bariatric chamber. They put like 3 stents in him. He was gone. He was in the hospital for like 2.5 months. And we responded to him this is like almost 4 months later. He had a diabetic episode. And then when we finally got his sugar back, that's the first thing he said, I know you two boys. And that's when we're like, oh yeah, that's right, we were here. I was like, what on earth possessed you to do that? But so be on the lookout. If you see somebody down twitching, don't run in. Wait for the fire department. Or you can be on the ground twitching. Funny watching them drag my big foot out. Okay, containers that appear to be out of place. That's what I was saying. Trash that looks too organized, has a tarp on it. Hosted by threat, trace EMP. Thermal, caused by either extreme heat or extreme cold. Radiological, alpha particles, beta particles, or gamma rays, generally produced by a nuclear event. I think is it alpha particles that are like the weakest? And you're fine, your clothes will protect you from that. But the rest, you're going to have bone cancer. There's no way, there's nothing really to protect you on that.
You can get behind like the steel plate.
Yeah, you're screwed. There's fallout, it's going to be on the ground. The military tried to say, here, wear this suit, take this, takes this atropine. No, it doesn't. It just means you can go a little longer and kill a little bit more people. You're going to have cancer. Asphyxiation caused by lack of oxygen in the atmosphere. Like I was talking about, running in there, because carbon monoxide poisoning. Somebody can set off the halon gas in a building. That stuff's bad.
Isn't that outlawed now?
Is it? I don't know. It should be. I don't know for sure, but I was told that stuff will suck the oxygen out of you. Chemical caused by a toxic or corrosive material. Again, like I said, something as simple as those heaters at Walmart and Tabasco sauce can be used for a chemical. And then there's it's an obscene number of housewives who die by mixing chemicals, bleach and pine sol, and cleaning their tubs. It's extremely poisonous.
What if you mix an acid and a base? It makes green gas.
I think pine sol is pneumonia, isn't it?
Yeah.
And and just, they keel over in the bathtub.
We need and bleach to clean the floors at work. I'm not kidding. In the mop bucket.
Where do you work?
Louis!
Oh.
It creates green gas, is what they used in World War I, the gas. Pretty much everybody uses it.
Pathology caused by disease. I guess they can get some dude that's got smallpox and go around rubbing everybody. Mechanical, caused by physical trauma, gunshot, bomb fragments. That's the big one there. Like I was telling you, homemade bombs are actually very easy to make. Pipe bombs, stick nails in it, glass fragments, BBs, marbles, and it makes a terrible mess for us. It really does. It shreds the human body, and it's hard to plug that up. That's where your coagulant agents come in handy. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? I have another brain part. Quick clock, thank you. Physiological results from a violent event. See, that's what I'm telling you. You go in, they've already blown up an event, they've hurt a bunch of people, the EMS goes in, they hit the first responders. That's not going to mess with people. And next time something happens, they probably won't even have a surprise, but people aren't going to want to go in and help. I mean, look at all the pictures of everybody helping after that Boston bombing. You know, you saw pictures everywhere of people helping out, right? And just think if there had been a couple extra bombs. You saw pictures of people helping people getting blown up. It wouldn't look that good, would it? That would have been an even bigger blow. How can I tell if I'm responding to a terrorist event? Incident. Responders use scene size up and situational awareness to recognize such an event. Time, distance, shielding. Minimize time in dangerous areas or exposure to hazardous material, biological agent, or radiation. Execute rapid entries to perform reconnaissance or rescue. Again, this is going to be way above our heads unless you get a job with the CDC or I think Atlanta's got a fire department that does hazmat. I think Opelika does too. Right over here, I think these are the hazmat guys. You might get a unit, get more extensive training in there. Get a lead-lined suit, you'll be good. If you get exposure, if it is timed right, you can usually manage it with the biological and the hazardous materials. Again, radiation, that all goes by, if you're exposed to it, how much of it is, and then your body's just got to flush it out of the system before it's had time to sit in there and take effect. Maximize the distance from the hazard area or projected hazard area. Everybody's got supposed to have that little hazmat book that tells you what chemicals and everything is inside their ambulance. It's supposed to be updated every 2 years. It also tells you, how far this can spread out. Plus, Wind has a lot to do with it if it's raining that day. Humidity has a big factor. Follow recommended guidelines regarding hazardous materials in the emergency response handbook. That's what I was telling you about. Shielding. Use apparatus shielding for specific hazards. Can be vehicles, building, fire protection, clothing, hazmat suits, positive pressure, self-contained breathing apparatus, PPE, vaccinations against specific disease. Most everybody in here is Hep B now, right?
Yes.
Yes. Flu shots.
Yeah.
We go anthrax, all kinds of stuff. Nuclear radiation, alpha particles stopped by clothing, beta can be stopped by aluminum. Or you can go to the grocery store, wrap yourself in aluminum foil. And gamma, extremely dangerous, requires lead shielding, bone cancer. Response to terrorism. Chemical incident includes many classes of hazard materials. Can be inhaled, ingested, absorbed, injected. May include industrial, chemical, or warfare type agents. Okay, you have thermal, secondary reaction created like heat. Asphyxiation is also a secondary reaction, depleted the oxygen. Your chemical can be your primary systematic effect. Mechanical, which is the secondary corrosive chemical, weakened structures, and then another secondary is your psychological effect. Protective against these measurements are respiratory protection, protective clothing, be aware of possible contaminants from patients, stay upwind and uphill from the incident, use the principles of time, distance, and shielding to minimize exposure risk. They had a leak at one of the meat packing plants in Montgomery about a year and a half ago. We got called to it. The hazmat team there in Montgomery responded, put up one of them shower tents, pulled all the little Hispanic people out that were working there, and showered them all down, gave them all little white suits, found somebody who spoke the language, and finally got them to go to the hospital and get checked out. I think it was Freon that they were exposed to, a Freon leak. But they had a nice little staging area where they, they come over here, they disrobed, they walked over here, they got showered, they went over here, they got the little paper suits they wore, and they come over here and they staged, and we picked them up and transported them 3 or 4 at a time. Okay. Presence as focused emergency or public health emergency. Focused emergency potential for actual point of origin located, attempts made to prevent or minimize damage and spread. Public health emergency, sudden demand upon public health infrastructure with no apparent explanation. Biological incident. Causative agents. Somebody could salmonella, that bacteria? Yeah. So somebody could like flood a field of tomatoes. That'd be E. coli.
E. coli and feces.
That's what I think. So it's not salmonella.
Salmonella is
Salmonella is
like raw
chicken,
chicken.
so.
Chicken. There you go. So we get like bad chicken and get a free giveaway or something like that. Viruses. You can get anthrax exposed into the area. Toxins. I've had a class on it, so don't think I just sit around and think of how to do this stuff, by the way. 4 major routes of entry to the body. Anybody think of it real quick?
Breathing.
That's inhaled. Absorption, ingestion, injection, and inhalation. Exposure to contaminants. Substance taken into the body through route of exposure. Contaminant is substance clinging to the surface of areas of the body or clothing. Chemical secondary scene of illicit laboratory, pathology, primary agents classified as poisons. The explosive, mechanical explosive used to disperse the agent, and the psychological damage it causes. Self-protection measures, PPE, and respiratory protection. Get as much information as possible. Prioritize protective measures. Self-protect, buddy system, availability, rapid intervention teams, and civilian protection. Basically, if you come up on something like that, you got to protect yourself. You got to cordon off the area, and you got to make sure that the civilian populace doesn't go into that area. And then you got to contact somebody who can basically put a suit on, get an apparatus, and get in there and treat those people, and come out to a safe zone and wash them off or decontaminate them and bring them to you. Because if you bring them in your ambulance contaminated, everything in your ambulance now is no good. So everything you go to treat them with is also contaminated, including yourself now. Now you're a patient. And if everybody rushes in there to go help these people, then what are you left with? A mess. Big mess. My favorite radiological and nuclear incidents. Small nuclear devices, suitcase bombs, stockpiled in foreign nations. Radiological dispersion more practical and difficult to detect, as radiation symptoms are displayed for hours or days. Sickness is treatable if detected early. Okay, this is redundant, same thing. Thermal, radiological, chemical, mechanical. Time, distance, and shielding. Radiological detection equipment helps determine effectiveness and measures. Assume dissemination of radiological, biological, and chemical materials. Follow decontamination procedures. They're all pretty much the same. If you come exposed to it, it's pretty much getting stripped down, getting rid of your clothes. Somebody else, a lot more qualified than us, will have to dispose of them, and other people will have to shower you off with huge brushes. That hurts. Like those big brushes. You'll be in there with the men in the blue suits taking a shower, getting scrubbed. Yep. Wide variety of devices, from small pipe bombs to large vehicle bombs, may involve attacks on a fixed target or a group of people, may be designed to disperse biological chemicals or radiological materials. Harms of explosive intent: thermal, heat detonation, asphyxiation from the dust, chemical, dissolved explosion reaction of chemicals present at detonation site, mechanical, typically seen at a bombing incident. Responders needs both pre-blast and post-blast protection. Pre-blast operations occur after written or verbal warning received, but before explosion takes place. So bomb threats. Post-blast operation occurring after at least one detonation. There's always the possibility of a second surprise. Okay, dissemination and weaponization. Dissemination of the CBRNE materials. Respiratory route, most effective and common means. Indigestion is route. Dermal route. Human-to-human contact. Most effective when targeting through inhalation route, particles in 3 to 5 micron size. Such airborne dissemination can be created by applying energy to material, heat, explosive sprays, and can aerosolize materials. Characteristics of the CBRNE agents. Chemical agents can be gaseous, liquids, or solids, vapor, pressure, and sensitized, whatever. They can carry very across the spectrum, volatile, low boiling point, and high vapor pressure will evaporate more readily. Allow agents to have greater airborne release potential. It's a class of a chemical agent, blistering agent. Choking agents. You see that got on his wrist. Imagine him breathing that on the inside. And the inside of his throat and his lungs looking like that. And then, not only would that obstruct your airway, but then when it pops, now you're going to asphyxiate. That's a blistering agent, cause chemical changes in the cells of the exposed tissue, and then prevents oxygen within the cells. That's cyanide. Got nerve agents. Inhibit enzymes critical to prevent nerve transmission, causing out of control thank you, I can never pronounce that word, nervous system. Sludgeon. SLUDGEN. Light control agents, irritating materials, and light or whatever. Tear flowing increasers. This formation cry, snot coming down. So in other words, you can't see, you can't breathe. You got tears flowing down, you got snot, you're gagging, you can't breathe.
I think we went over that slogan in class. You remember what all those other stuff?
Yeah,
What's F?
salvation,
Oh, you got it in front of you? What's
Yes.
L?
lacrimation,
And what's that?
it's stimulation.
Where are your lacrimal
lacrimal gland,
Yeah, so that's tearing. U is what?
urination,
It's what?
urination,
Urination. D?
defecation,
What's that?
when you go to the bathroom.
Number 2. Just check. And what's G?
Yeah, that's it.
Gastrointestinal, so more stuff. What's E?
Emesis,
Y'all need to know that word. You don't know what it is. What's
Vomiting.
emesis? Okay. And M?
meiosis,
What's that?
abnormal contraction of the pupil.
Okay. Y'all need to know that.
So basically everything that make you want to leave the area. Signs and symptoms of exposure. Everything just went over. Role of EMS, primarily is supportive. Basically, all you can do is wrap them up and say, oh man, you're going to make it, you're going to make it. Maybe. Yeah, but you don't want to tell them you're screwed either. Some materials can replicate itself, creating greater potential for transmission from person to person. Military nuclear device, improvised nuclear device, radiological dispersal device, dirty bomb, and sabotage. Radiological exposure effects, bone marrow, gastrointestinal system, nervous system. You have, bone cancer, stomach cancer, mess up your nervous system. So you have your blast injury patterns. Your chest injury, you're going to become bradycardic, apneic, hypotensive tension from the blast wave. Basically, you're going to have a bruise on the heart. That muscle's going to slow down. Your ribs are probably going to be fractured. It's going to be hard to breathe. Probably going to breathe in all that dust and stuff. Your eardrums, they're going to rupture the tympanic membrane. You ain't going to be able to hear. Your abdominal injury, you're going to rupture like your spleen, your stomach, some of your intestines. Brain injury, then you have concussion, mild traumatic brain injury from the blast wave, your skull fracture, amnesia, all that good stuff. Strategy and tactics, isolation, control the scene, isolating the hazards, and attempting to conduct control and evacuation is resource intensive and requires law enforcement personnel. Law enforcement must establish and control the perimeter throughout the incident. Notification generally requires an established directive, procedures, and statutes. Requests for additional specialized agencies carried out by communications centers based upon early reports of EMTs at the scene. So basically you need to say what you're seeing, what people are doing, what kind of attack you've seen. So you're going to be able to know if it is radiological, if it's going to be biological, chemical, what kind of threat it is, what you're going to need, and who they're going to need to call, who's going to have to come deal with this. Identification and protection, identification of the agent, observe indicators and particular agents or presence of chemical containers or lab materials, protection of critical assets, people, vehicle, equipment, supplies, requires close partnership between EMS and security agents. Gross decontamination by EMS personnel, removing surface contaminant via mechanical means, and initial rinsing, amount of surface contaminants significantly reduce the effects. Self-protection in a terrorist incident. Remember I was telling you that somebody's going to be washing you off? There's the guy right there in the suit. I'm sliding through that tent. That's just like phase one. It's like a human car wash.
I haven't seen one they lay down, I just seen one they stand up and get showered.
Yeah, I've never seen one like that. Usually you just go into the shower area and you get cleaned off that way.
I doubt we'll see one like that, Auburn.
They're here. Auburn has a, I don't know the name of it, but it's a response team here. It's a FEMA response team, and they respond to all those big natural disasters or anything.
I went on a thing in New Orleans when they had
Like
that,
surf print?
what you would call it,
That's like,
when the flood happened or whatever.
Yeah.
Or not, whatever happened. Anyway, I went on this thing, a mission thing, and I had to do the FEMA thing. Yeah, it was pretty crazy having to wear this big white suit, and it was stunk so bad, and it was pretty cool though. I got washed off several times, this little shower thing. It was pretty cool.
It's not it's made of fire department personnel, law enforcement
I
personnel.
think they're surf prone training, I didn't know what that is.
They go in and they provide infrastructure, ambulance services, fire protection, police protection, all that stuff in the areas. They don't go in there with shop packs. Self-protection at terrorist incident. Recognize the scene, size up. Victims displaying signs of hazardous substance exposure. Are the unconscious victims. Victims exhibiting the slug sign. Blistering, redness of skin, discoloration of skin. Victims having difficulty breathing. You know, you guys remember what we were reading before? If it's going to be anything biological or chemical, you're probably going to see some type of reaction to the skin, to the way they're having difficulty breathing or anything like that. And what you're really going to want to look for is if there's a lot of them happening. If it's just one person, you're okay. But if like everybody this is happening to, then you probably got either an environmental or terroristic threat going on. The bad thing is, unless it's a bomb, if it's a radiation or nuclear threat, you're not going to know for hours or days later. That's just the sad thing of it. They could be calling you in and saying, you know the people you brought in? Yeah, you need to come in because you're probably glowing in the dark. Recognition, situational awareness. I preach these to my partner and the people I work with all the time, especially in ski. Situational awareness. Does anybody truly know what that means? Just be aware of your surroundings. Know where everything's at. Watch where everything's at. Like my partner goes in, the guy's a little upset because he has some difficulty with 911 dispatchers. So we show up, he's a little mad already. Thinks it took us too long to get there. You know, we're trying to ask some questions. He's wondering, why do you have to ask all these questions? They're at the hospital. So my partner pops off at him, we need to know this stuff too. It's a long ride, something might happen. And what he doesn't notice, there's a big old 380 snub nose right behind him, laying right there, that the guy could just pick up and say, oh yeah, click, you're dead. Situational awareness. I'm on the other side of the bed, he sees this, and I can't exactly say, The guy probably thinks I have a spasm in my neck. But I'm like trying to point out that, shut up. So you guys got to have situational awareness all the time. Medical mass casualties or fatalities with minimal or no trauma. Responder casualties, dead animals and vegetation. Unusual odors, color of smoke, vapor, clouds. Especially that unusual odor stuff. Chemicals, they put off weird odors. Occupancy, location, type of event, timing, on-scene clues. So if you're going to a large event, let's say downtown at the Auburn hotel down there, the whole hotel is reporting they're sick. It just happens to be the Young Republican Party convention, and it's 9/11, and they're all shortness of breath and these blisters coming up. What's that thing you're thinking of? Some kind of terroristic thing going on, right? Be it foreign, homegrown, or some religious group, or probably some Democrat group. So don't rush in, right? You definitely don't want to rush in if that happens. Well, you can tell appropriate authorities say the scene is safe. Follow incident command protocols. Wear appropriate PPE. Be aware of possible secondary explosive devices or exposure. You go in. Like I said, you just can't rush in. I know your first instinct is going to be wanting to run in and help people, but sometimes you can't always run in and help people. Search all patients for explosives or weapons. it's supposed to be the police's job, but it's best that you have the police officer searched, especially if this is like a police matter or something, have them search them in front of you again. Just ask them nicely, hey, you don't mind searching old boy for me, do you? One more time? Most of them don't have a problem with that. Just say, it just makes me a little nervous, you know, the way he's acted. I've never had a problem with them searching the guy again. I'm not going to say which department because there's 3 here, but when I was working security at East Alabama, they brought a guy into X-ray, and X-ray noticed something on the X-ray. We called security, moved him over to the bed. We walked over to see the guy, asked him how he was doing, and held him down and removed the item. But he made it. It was arrested, brought in, unhandcuffed, and still had a handgun down his pants. And then the X-ray, the gun showed up on the X-ray. So,
How long ago was this?
let's see, I quit in January this year, and I think I went to per diem when that happened, so it was last year. I think it was around the holidays. No, that's kind of hush-hush stuff. So just make sure you guys watch the patients, you know, and tell them to pull their pants up too. Don't be afraid to do that.
I told a guy that I worked with the other day to pull his pants up because he was leaning over the counter and his pants were sagging. Like I could see the majority of his butt. And their customer standing at the counter. He's in the kitchen. I was like, pull up your pants. And he started to smart off to me. And the customer goes, yeah, pull it up. I don't care to see your underwear.
This is bad.
I hate you.
Protect yourself. No, we don't have bomb suits, but there's guys that have bomb suits. Understand the trace MP arms, time, distance, shielding, use specific tactics for each of the CBR, any threat. Chapter review. Okay, this helps recall the types of agents and weapons that can be used by the terrorists. Chemical, biological, radiation, nuclear, and what was the E? Explosives. I always forget E. Trace MP helps recall types of hazardous of these agents. I don't even remember what that was for. Does anybody remember? Thermal, radiological.
Asphyxiation, chemical, ideological, mechanical.
Don't read it out of your
recycling.
book, you're supposed to remember.
I do, I have it right in front of me.
Read it out of your book.
You must be sure to protect yourself from terrorist attacks as well as secondary attacks, which are designed to injure or kill rescuers and further the physical and psychological impact of the attack. And like I said, we are a big target because they think if they can start, you know, shooting off a lot of us, then people are going to be scared to start responding to these things. Responders are often targets of terrorists. Safety must be the highest priority. Use scene clues to identify potential terrorist incidents. Isolation, perimeter control, and appropriate notifications are important priorities in managing of terrorist incidents. Force protection is an extension of general safety procedures. It refers to the safety and security of both providers and resources. You know, there's a big rise in tactical units where police departments are starting to employ their officers that are paramedic trained or EMT and advanced trained officers that go in with them. Because, you know, otherwise, like at LAX, everybody's crying that there was a delay in patient care. Well, yeah, there's a delay. We don't have no vest on, we don't have no weapons. I'm not going into a live shooting scene. That's just stupid. You know, unless you're strapped to the gills and you go in and grab him and run. And they're busy trying to clear the area because he's walking around shooting people, right? Or you get a little robot that can pick him up or something. Questions to consider. How can I best protect myself from danger and hazards during a terrorist incident? What is my, what'd you say? Not be there? Got my death here, but this one still works real good. How can I best protect myself from danger and hazards during a terrorist incident? What is my role in the incident response plan for a terrorist incident? You arrive at an office where multiple patients are complaining of the same symptoms. They state their office received several threats due to its role in a controversial foreign relations incident. You and your partner recognize the similar symptoms and decide these may be linked. Young Republican Convention. What are you going to do?
Stay back.
Call for help, right? I'll get the fire department. They can send somebody in, get them out, and they can start hosing them down. What is your best course of action next? Should you remove yourself from the scene at this point or remain with your patients?
Stay in cold tonight.
What's that?